The review, and this is for Kyle Kullin. He wanted me to talk about and review the original Halloween. And what more can you say about the original here? I mean, it's a film that I've seen many times here. Now, I will say right off the bat, for me, it's not my favorite Halloween film. I would give that more to Halloween 2. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I've only seen the film once, and I would love to go back and revisit that film again. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, is another favorite. That one to me is up there with Halloween 2. Halloween 5, I'm not a fan of. Halloween 6, I can watch okay. It's like a time waster. H2O, I enjoy. Halloween Resurrection, I haven't seen that in a while. And the only thing that, everybody, of course, talks about with that is, Busta Rhymes. But again, I haven't seen that in years. The remake, the Rob Zombie remake, I'm not a fan of. I've seen it. Didn't care for it. I haven't seen the sequel to the remake. I have seen the 2018 movie. Not a fan of that. And I did see Halloween Kills, which I'm not a fan of. So, there's been some good ones here in the series, but there's also been, I think it all started with the remake, and, that's a whole nother tangent right there, and, another video for another day. But, yeah, I mean, the original here, of course, we all know the plot here. 15 years later, after murdering his sister on Halloween night, Michael Myers escapes, from a mental hospital, and he's out to, kill again in the town of Haddonfield. And yeah, I mean, that's the plot here. Everybody, knows the premise here to the original. And, it was directed by John Carpenter. He was one of my favorite directors. The cast here, you got Jamie Lee Curtis in the film as Laurie Strode. PJ Souls, Nancy Loomis, Charles Cyphers, and of course, Donald Pleasance as, Dr. Loomis. And, what jumped out at me, I mean, whenever I go back and, revisit the original Halloween here, the one thing that really jumps out for me is the atmosphere. I mean, it's a really good atmosphere. There's a lot of, shots that take place at night. And the setting of Haddonfield, really worked here for the movie. And even with the, the character of Michael Myers, we could talk about the look and, the mask itself, being a William Shatner mask that they painted over. It's iconic. The score is iconic. And again, just the atmosphere of the movie, for me, that really, it's an element that really stands out for me. But, the cast too. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis does a nice job here. Donald Pleasance does a great job as, Dr. Loomis. And he is, definitely, he brings a presence to the movie. Pleasance brings presence. Say that 10 times. But, yeah, Donald Pleasance is a great actor. Of course, he would come back for Halloween 2 and, later on with Halloween 4 and 5. And even though by Halloween 5, he became very unlikable. But, Donald Pleasance, again, he's always a, great actor. You got Charles Cyphers, like I mentioned, he was good here in the film. PJ Souls, the cast, everybody does a nice job here. And again, the look of Michael Myers, I already talked about that. But taking place on Halloween, that really worked well for the film. And you got a lot of great shots with Michael Myers that people still remember. For example, where, Michael Myers, appears from out the bushes. Like you see him like on the other side of this bush, and then he disappears. Or you got the shot where, Jamie Lee Curtis sees him by the clothesline. He appears, and when she looks back, he disappears. So there's a lot of great, shots where, Michael Myers is the shape. He's this mysterious figure, in the movie. And again, that's what, really made this character work, was that he was an enigma, and he was the shape. It was always, like you would see from behind Michael Myers, or, kind of like point of view shots that for me really worked well here with the film. He wasn't really exposed, but again, he kind of kept in the shadows. And again, I, talk about being the shape. He was the shape here in the movie. He wasn't overexposed. He was just enough, like, he would appear here and there. Sometimes you would see from behind the character or the point of view of the character. And then, later on you get to see a little bit more of, Michael Myers, when he's going after Laurie Strode. And, you got some good kills here in the film where, I mean, there's a few kills, like, killing Annie and, PJ Souls, we all remember that scene where, he kills the boyfriend and he comes back under the sheet with the glasses. And that's a, memorable scene. And, putting the headstone in the bed of, Judith Myers. And again, I know I'm covering a lot here, and I'm kind of hitting all the highlights. But again, it's a film that, who hasn't seen? Who hasn't seen the original Halloween? And again, for me, it's not my favorite of the series. I much prefer Halloween 2. I think for me, with Halloween 2, it kind of took things up a notch, in terms of the environment, or, like taking place in a hospital, for me is far more creepier. And again, I know a lot more people out there, prefer the original Halloween. This is their favorite. This is the first one that they saw, or, and I respect that. This is a film that I respect, and, it's a classic. But maybe, again, Halloween 2 is more of my kind of movie. Like, again, for me, it just kind of took things up a notch a little bit. Where with this, for me, this film here, had a great atmosphere and so much more. And the cinematography is really good here. Dean Cundy provided the cinematography. But again, Halloween 2 kind of does it more for me. And I know I keep harping on that, but so, yeah, I mean, Halloween here, the original, again, it's still a really very good film, and, with great characters, an iconic score, John Carpenter directing. You have a lot of great night shots. You have a great, atmosphere that really, is well executed here. Jamie Lee Curtis does a nice job. Donald Pleasance is great. The look of Michael Myers, is iconic. And I'd even mentioned the scene where he breaks into the closet. That's another great scene. When, Laurie Strode's in the closet and he breaks into the closet. And again, it's a film that, many people have seen. And if you haven't seen, where have you been? So, again, I would say at the end of the day, for me, it's a very good film. It's a classic, but again, I know I keep saying this, but maybe I kind of prefer Halloween 2 a little bit more, but that's just me. So, out of 5 stars, I'm gonna give the original Halloween 4 stars. So, but that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.